Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone, to another amazing episode of Referrals Podcast. And I know today's going to be amazing. And we are on our road to 1 million downloads. We are almost there. You have turned out in spades, people. Like, the generosity generation is growing leaps and bounds right now, and we so appreciate you. 1 million downloads? Like, come on. I'm just a little kid from Kansas City. We're talking about such a niche of lead generation and marketing with referrals. And you guys are showing up and supporting us at the highest level ever. I just want to say thank you to start this show. Thank you. And that leads us to, like, today is really about 3 sentences. And those 3 sentences are: trust the system, trust yourself, keep moving forward. I don't know where you're at in your business or on your business or with your business, but I know that if you trust the system, you trust yourself, and you keep moving forward, success will find you. And that's what I really want to emphasize from today is, listen, it doesn't have to be the Referral Mastery System. It can be any system, but like, are you fully in? Are you 100% committed? Are you all in on that system? And I'm a product of that today, to be frank with you, is I've taken all of the other referral systems. I've taken all of the other class, and I went 100% all in, squeezed every ounce of juice out of them, implemented like to no end, to the point where, like, I think I knew the system better than the trainer, and then developed this referral mastery system from that. And it would have never happened if I didn't decide in the very first place that I'm going to go all in. I'm going to trust the system, trust myself, and I'm going to keep moving forward no matter what. So that's what I hope you get from today, because we have someone today who literally trusts the system, trusts himself, and kept moving forward, and has seen amazing success because of his dedication and his commitment. Today's guest is someone our Gen community knows very well, not because he's big and loud on social media, but because he's big and loud in his implementation. Will Craddock is the owner of AIM Consultants of Florida, but that's not why he's on the podcast today. He's here because he is one of the most consistent, disciplined implementers of the Referral Mastery System inside the generosity generation. He doesn't just attend our classes and coaching. He doesn't just take notes. He executes. He executes quickly. He executes at the highest level. He builds relationships intentionally. He works the system. He trusts the system. He trusts himself, and he keeps moving forward. And as a result, he's built a business fueled by referrals and deep professional connections. If you've ever wondered what happens when someone fully commits to a system like the Referral Mastery System, today's episode is your answer. Without further ado, I want to welcome Mr. Will Craddock to Referrals Podcast.
Thank you for having me. May I start out with a little appreciation? Am I 100%. Allowed to say a few things about some of the mentors I've had throughout this journey? I'd like to start with Tommy Sandvik, Tommy with an H. A lot of people know. He's been a true inspiration and help and guidance with the system itself. I do have other mentors who've gotten me to this place. I'd like to give them a shout out. One of the gentlemen I met when I was a teenager, his name was Tim Durbin. Another one is a gentleman by the name of Edward Nunez. He's the one who got me into the industry that I'm currently in and gave me all the base to work with. And then the last one is a gentleman who I asked him if he'd mentor me, and he said, I'd love to mentor you. And his name is Pat Lewis. So wonderful men in my life. So
Who was the first one again?
Tommy with an H.
Who was the second one?
Tim
Okay.
Durbin.
All right.
Yes,
What
sir.
was the number one thing that you've learned from Pat? The one lesson.
Knowledge is power.
Okay.
Knowing your stuff.
All right. Ed, what's the number one thing you learned from Ed?
He's probably the one I've seen generosity just displayed no matter what. No matter how somebody treats him, talks to him, or anything like that, he was always a kind, polite professional.
How about Tim?
He's probably the first one in the professional realm that told me, Will, no matter what you do in life, you're going to be successful at, period, no matter what.
Belief, right? He really believed in you.
Yes, sir.
And Tommy.
I don't know where to start with that one. Tommy's done a lot. He's helped. Focus and clarity is probably the two biggest words I would use. He's
Yeah.
helped me with my focus and my clarity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because focus is power, clarity is power, knowledge is power, generosity is power. Right. So a lot of powerful mentors in your life showing you the different values that lead to power. So I love that. All right. So, well, first of all, you're not a realtor, you're not a lender, you're not a warranty rep, you're not a title rep, you're not in the real estate industry, you're not a financial planner, you're not an insurance agent, you're not an attorney, you're not one of the many professions who have latched on to the 7L system and the referral mastery system and ran with it. You are, what are you? What do you do again?
I mean, if you ask most people, I'm the connector in the room. I'm the one who knows everybody, which is funny to say. I didn't think I would ever be in that position, but strategically placed, absolutely. It's a wonderful place to be. Do you want the short answer or long answer of what I actually do?
So it's asbestos and mold testing.
So it's actually at this point, because of such a need in the marketplace, it's just mold services, asbestos services. That's the big focus. But anything that's in the hazardous environmental industry, I've either done it, I've got experience with it, I've got knowledge with it. And at this point, I have strategic partnerships all over the place. So, yeah.
So asbestos and mold services. That's a referral based business. That's a relationship based business.
All businesses. I don't care what
Man.
business you're doing.
All right. So how did you come to find 7L?
So I came to find 7L through, I was at my BNI chapter, and the gentleman by the name of Kevin Rosen, who is a financial advisor, said, "Hey, Will, I know you like doing different networking things. Just come to this, check it out. It's the Brew Crew." Okay, cool, man. So I went to the event. I met Tommy formally. I've heard of Tommy, but never met him formally. So got to meet him formally. I entered the door prize. So I did the door prize giveaway, filled it out, and I actually won a copy of 7L.
Huh.
And that was last year, March. It was March 2025 is when I got a copy of the book.
We're not even talking 12 months in the system.
Not even 12 months, sir.
Holy cow. Now that I'm not sure if that I do remember when you came in that I was telling Sherry and Mandy and Tommy and Carla actually at that like, hey, we've got a rapid riser here. We see someone who's really implementing, and I remember mentioning your name. So it's man, I really thought that was 2 years ago. So just we're talking about literally a year. So, all right. So, did you read the book?
That's an understatement. So I got a copy of the book. I was trying to figure out a way to do things better, meaning get better ROI on what I was doing. So the need was there. And since the need was there, I, I was like, the heck with it. I'm just going to read this book. And so I read the book. There was no Brew Crew in April due to Easter. And so because of that, I had a 2 month time period of no interaction. I read the book 4 or 5 times, blown away with it, absolutely floored. Because I was like, wow, like this is all of the principles that I believe in, but actually how you show them because of the way I came up is probably it's a similar way that you probably were raised. A lot of it was shown that as far as men, we don't typically outwardly show love, generosity, and appreciation. It's something that we do. We just don't make a big deal about it. And this way we don't make a big deal about it. We just make sure that we're showing love on the people around us, like, really impacting them. And that was something that resonated with me far beyond anything else, was the absolute, it's okay to outwardly show that to people and show your gratitude and show your appreciation and show your love to people. And that I don't care who you are. I don't believe in anybody self-made, because you had relationships that helped you get there.
Right. Well, you're the guy who every time he shares in one of our mastery classes or any of our masterminds always starts with appreciation. And I noticed that. And everybody else notices it too, because then you'll see people from there on out, they have the freedom to start with appreciation. Isn't that interesting? It really goes back to that Marianne Williamson poem about shine your light so that others are free to do so as well. And that's what you do a lot of times is, we'll have a couple people share, you'll share and just, you go, the first thing I want to just say is how much I appreciate this system and what you've put together, Michael. And then every Zoom share afterwards is them starting with appreciation. And it's just, that's a ripple effect. That's a thing. That's an effect that we can actually have on people. And you're that guy. So what strategy did you implement first?
The strategy that I would say that I probably implemented first was refining my one-to-one process, because that's where I've always been different than everybody else. I've been told that. And so that was one of the ones I latched onto pretty quickly, especially being in B&I. And so I utilized the spectrum of solutions instead of the gain sheet. I just liked it. It did the same thing. But what I started implementing was, once I learned about the conversation, starting with what's the biggest win for you, right? So do you mind if I take notes? How would this conversation be the biggest win for you today?
Yeah.
And listen to what they have to say. And then that piece of paper I keep upside down and I slide it across the table after I've done listen. I said, well, if this conversation is the biggest win for you and it meets your expectations or exceeds it, then this piece of paper is some information about me and how I can help you and your clients. If this wasn't a win, all I ask is that you at least recycle the paper on the way out. That's it.
Yeah, I love it. I love starting with, do you mind if I take, well, what do you notice when you say, hey, listen, do you mind if I take notes during this conversation? And then you go into my first question is, how do I make this meeting the biggest win for you? What do you notice from the other side of the booth?
You can see really quickly who's prepared and who's not. And right there, that starts the whole, like, people's fascination, how you could come to an individual meeting and be so prepared and ready to go. That's probably the thing I always hear the most, was always, you're the most prepared. Now I'm hearing that I'm the most intentional person when I sit down. I already have my questions ready. I know what I'm going to ask. I know what the purpose of what we're doing is. And that's one of the parts I love the most about it, is that I just get to guide the conversation. I don't have to do all the talking or anything like that. In fact, most of the time I get to eat my whole entire meal and I just chime in and ask a question.
Your meal's eaten in 5 to 10 minutes and theirs is still there after an hour. That's when you've had a good one-to-one, because they've talked so much their food's cold.
My favorite one-to-one I had in the past year, I had a one-to-one with a lady where I literally did that. We talked for an hour and a half and I just asked questions. We got to the end of the conversation. She's like, oh, I've got another meeting. I said, I do too. And she goes, I did all the talking. I don't know anything about you whatsoever.
That's right.
We need to schedule a follow-up one-to-one so I can learn about you.
And that's what your Spectrum Solutions is for.
Exactly.
Right. So, I mean, the best time to tell them what you do is when they ask for it.
Yes, sir.
Right. Otherwise you're just telling and selling. But now they're interested. They're gonna embrace that. They're gonna take it in. So I absolutely love what you're doing there. So, do you have some pet questions for your one-to-ones? Do you have questions that you like to ask during the one-to-one, or anything, that, like, what's maybe the most interesting question that you ask them during a one-to-one?
The one that I'm most interested in is the goals part of it. Because for me, that's going to tell me really quickly, do they line up with the values I have? right? Because we're ultimately doing interviews. And it's funny because I've been asked that, what are we doing? Like, this feels like I had one lady a couple of weeks ago, this feels like a date. I was like, man, we're in a public place. Like, I appreciate it. Yeah. But I was like, this is an interview is what it is. Just to be candid, this is an interview. I'm looking to see whether or not you fit in with the broader community that I'm developing at the moment. And that's all this is, just a conversation, and see if, there's any opportunities. If there are, cool. If not, hey, look, breakfast is on me. It's been a pleasure, and we'll just go about ourselves.
Yep. So. Yeah, very cool. So the goal. So let's say you get to the part of the conversation and you go, well, tell me about your goals. Like, what are your goals? And have you ever gotten it where they tell you that they don't have any, or they're like, oh, I kind of want to do some things, or I wish I was this, or that kind of thing? Or do you typically get a response that's pretty dead on to my goal is blank?
For the most part, I get that. My goal is blank.
Yeah.
I do. The question I lead with when I go into goals is, would you share with me some of your goals that you have, whether it's personal or professional, and whether it be in the next year or next 5 years? So I'm trying to give them enough room to talk.
Yeah, exactly. Give them space.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then also, if I'm still eating, it gives me time to finish eating.
It is true. Yeah. Okay. So. And all right, so they tell you about your goals, or they tell you about their goals, and they're talking about, they want to go to the Bahamas this year, and they want to win the recognition at their office, and they want to do a certain amount of sales, and so tell me where you go with that conversation after they do that.
So generally, when I get through the goals aspect of it, if there's something that's really intriguing where I think that they gave me a short answer and there's something more I can ask about it, because one of the things that I learned from, I believe it was Money Mastermind, or the Money Mastery class in December, and this comes from Coach Carla, digging down 7 layers to get to what truly is at the heart of a person.
Peeling the onions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly. And so if I don't think that I have enough of a grasp of what really drives them and motivates them, because they gave me what I would call a cop-out answer, then I'll just I'll try to ask it in a different form, or go another layer deep. Why is that? Why do you say that? Until I get to, have I gotten to enough of struck an accord with them?
Love it. Love it. How do you leave your one-to-ones? How you go, and then talk to me about those final 5 minutes.
When you're talking about when we're doing the transition, because I've ever since I got this, I started doing stacks. I try not to just do a one-off
right.
because of the productivity.
So talk about that. When you're stacking, what is a stack?
So that probably is one of the most favorite things that I've implemented was the stack. Because the first time I did a stack, I saw what the true power in the stack was. And the true power in the stack was the opportunity, whether people realize it or not. I'm giving them a referral right when I meet them. I'm literally introducing them to the next person I'm going to meet with. And I'm doing that. And then it gives me the opportunity to walk away. And it's the same thing in an event. When I introduce somebody at an event and I make that introduction at my event, they start talking. I'm not even part of the conversation. I had to tell you, Michael, that to me with the event, and I may be jumping ahead. I don't mean to jump but at the event, the first event that I did was actually a Top Yacht. And when all I did was make introductions to people, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. Like, all I did was make introductions. I'm not there. I'm literally not there. I just walk away and go back to what I was doing.
Yeah. And they still give you credit for it, and still remember it forever that you made that connection. So with the stacks, are you doing morning stacks? Are you doing lunch stacks? Are you doing happy hour stacks? Where are you stacking your one-to-ones typically?
So my time doesn't allot for me to do happy hour stacks. I wish it did, but it doesn't currently allot for that. So my predominant stacks are either morning or their lunchtime. And it really just depends on what my availability is given on whatever I have going on.
Yeah, love it. All right. So I know that you are called Mr. One-to-One to a lot of people. So I really wanted to go into that and get some depth. I absolutely love most of the time with a one-to-one, people get frustrated because if they implement what we teach in the Referral Mastery System and networking mastery, the other person sometimes doesn't even know what you do or did. Like they don't even know what you do. They don't know anything about you actually because they've been talking the whole time. But at that moment, like that's what that spectrum of solutions is for. And it doesn't matter because they're going to be super interested in what you are because you've expressed interest in them. Like nobody, like everything's about story selling, storytelling, and your origin story right now. And the truth of the matter is nobody cares about your story. They don't care about your story until you've heard their story. When you've heard their story, they're all of a sudden super interested in your story. So I love that you've implemented the spectrum of solutions and you have to have one. Like a realtor, heavily suggested. Mortgage person, heavily suggested, but it's not super required because they can refer a realtor with some bubble, like with some doubt, some I'm not sure if this person handles this or not. But with your profession being asbestos and mold services, you almost have to have a spectrum of solutions that tells them exactly what solutions that you provide. So I love that you've taken that, run with it, and that's your giveaway at the end. And they're going to keep it, and they're going to look at it, they're going to read it, and I mean, how many times have you been in a one-to-one where you give them this, and they're like, "Oh my God, that's what you do."
Not very often. Normally I get contacted afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you did so many things.
Yeah, or that thing.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed you were in asbestos services or mold services. I wouldn't have. I just, I guess you have a certain thought in mind and it's different. So, all right. Let's talk about events. That sound good? Because I
That
know
sounds
that you've really run on the event train over the last year. So tell me what the first event you did, like when you did it, and go through that process.
That's funny. And I told Tommy this multiple times. I was vehemently ever against doing an event because of just the one-to-ones normally paid in spades, like paid in
Yes.
dividends. Why ever do an event? I don't need to do an event. After I did my first stack, then I was like, an event sounds okay, but I'm still not sold on it. Just as a sidebar, I did all three classes. I did networking mastery and time mastery and event mastery off cycle recordings only. I did contact Tommy when I first joined RMA. I contacted Tommy. That was 2 weeks before one of the brew crews, either July or August. And he said, "Oh, we'll get through time mastery and get through networking mastery." I thought he meant get through it in 2 weeks. I did all of time mastery and networking mastery in 2 weeks.
No
I showed
way.
that his event had only slept like 2 hours the night before, but on absolute fire. Like, what is next? What are we doing next, Tommy? And he's like, an event.
Yeah, yeah. He set you up. He set you up in a really good way. So that's
Absolutely.
that's a lot to take at one time. Time mastery and networking mastery. So you can't and I mean my answer to you or whoever's listening to this is I believe I've mastered one-to-ones. I was phenomenal at it, but they were so intensive. They were so intense when it came to time, energy, effort that it's not scalable. It's not, it just takes up 4 hours. And I mean, an event is scalable and leverageable. So it's like, it's really like a one to one with 30 to 40 people in 2 hours. And honestly, they feel even better about you than, than a one to one because other people are bragging on you at an event, whereas you don't get that with the one to one. So that would have been what I would tell you. Hey, listen, as you expand, as you grow, you just can't one to one yourself all the way to success. So you did an event and you came kicking and screaming. Shout out to Karen Doherty. Shout out to Alina, the travel agent, who I'm going to talk about at the end, who both came kicking and screaming to events. So, like, what was your biggest hesitation with events? You just had success in another realm, so you weren't sure you needed it as a play?
It had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
I think it was trying to figure out where the value was in it and trying to see the value first. And then as I went through the process and I had the access to ask the questions. I had the room. I was given the space and the patience to ask the questions. And so I always had questions because I wanted to know a little bit more, like understand the process. Because as in recordings, watching them, you can't always ask the questions that you may have. Like you can ask clarifying questions when you're in a live class. When you're recording, who are you going to ask? Well, if you're in coaching, you can ask your coach.
You can ask Tommy, right?
Absolutely.
You can ask Tommy, right?
So in my case, I can ask Tommy. Exactly. And so I said, okay, let's go with it. I literally just like, okay, let's do it. Like you're saying that's the next step, because I wanted to know what's next. I literally learned what's next, and there's always a what's next. So what's next? An event. Okay, let's do it. So I went through the process. I put together the event in 4 weeks or 5 weeks, something like that, shorter than we're supposed to. But I did a top yap. And the reason I chose to do that is because Tommy and I talked, and I know that the system talks about doing an all yap first. But the thing was, I was pretty solid. I was pretty solid on the fact that I had an idea of who my top people were just from reading the book multiple times and taking notes and listening and reviewing. Basically, hey, look, if people have sent you a referral, that's a good reason to get them in the room. And if they've sent you multiple referrals, that's even a better reason to get them in the room. And I'm like, well, I've got 25 people since I started implementing the system, around that March, April timeframe. I've already got 25 people I can put in a room together. Let's do it. Like, let's make it happen. And so I was blown away. I really was. I flubbed on a lot of things. I learned from my other event that I just did, but I flubbed on a couple of things that I wish would have been done better, but it didn't matter. And that was one of the things that I appreciate about what you always tell everybody is do your best, forget the rest. Because the people that you're working with don't generally know what you're doing. They don't understand it. They don't fathom it. And so it really put my mind at ease hearing, just do it. Just do it. Get it done. Do it as best as you can. And then learn. And I was like, that's where you start learning the different little nuances of the system about, basically try, fail, review, that whatever that sequence is, I apologize.
Learn, implement, fail, evaluate. Life. Yes. Yeah. You've learned this very well. But was that June and July?
What do you mean?
When you did the Top Yap event?
September.
Okay.
You guys were literally finishing with Event Mastery, and I started like a week after you guys had finished Event Mastery.
Okay. All right. So you did and for those listening, we teach macro events and we teach micro events. Macro events are all the people community, sometimes public. They don't have to be public. If your sphere is big enough, that's your public. But we do community events, which are all yaps. And then we do micro events, which are for a segment of your database. And one of the segments we always suggest to start with is the most influential, most connected people referring you the most, which makes a lot of sense. We should probably love on that group. So he had a top yap in September. So what did you do in September? What kind of event did you do? How many did you invite? Talk to me about that a little bit.
So I did exactly 25, like was recommended. And I did a sip, savor, and socialize. And I just implemented. That's it. Like there's no two ways about it. Just implement. That's it. Just, it's do it now and implement. Implement what you can. Again, doing your best. And then you'll figure it out from there, because at least if you get the bulk of it, and that's one of the things that as I continue to implement, I've been able to implement to a point, and now it's going through and looking at the nuances, and all the nuances do, which is when you get to that point, and I know you have people who've been in this for a long time, but as you implement the little nuances, then people come to you and go, wow, that was amazing. Or, hey, did you notice this? And you're just like, yeah, like in your mind, you're like, that's a nuance. And I was like, well, thank you. Like, I wasn't for sure if anybody would see that, but the fact that you saw that, and you're also learning more about those people who are attention, especially if they're newer to your sphere. Like there were some people in this most recent event that I had done one-to-ones with, values lined up, but I hadn't the opportunity to actually interact with them in a social event. So it was interesting to see those people who, when they classify themselves, that's always interesting when you ask that question. You ask the personality question.
Yeah, the disc. Yeah.
Yes, sir, the disc profile. And it's always interesting because they'll say something, and then when you see them in action, you're like, it's a little different. That's a little different, but it's okay, because then you just make a little note. Like I just make a mental note and then go back and make a note. Just
right.
like I had expressed in one of the classes, that when I find out what their personality profile is, I just put it in the phone. So anytime I talk to them,
That's right.
I know how to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah. Just create a new field.
Exactly.
That's what I love about, like, and I'm sure the Android does it as well, but on Apple, I have a referred by, connected by, introduced by, and then I have the disc, I have the love language, I have the strengths finders, and it, like, literally, if I know it, then it's in there. And it's amazing what you're going to know about a person just by a few things. So what's your love language? Quality.
I I honestly don't know. I mean, if you want to describe it a little bit to me,
I'll do it at a later time. How about
okay.
that?
I
So,
apologize.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. It would be like, that's probably your next journey is is to go through the five love languages. It's a great book. Um, and when you know what somebody's is, it's kind of like the DISC is, you now have another way to love on them, and they don't even know it's coming in a lot of cases. It's just subtle. And the like you said, there are these people who are ultra aware, super successful people because they're ultra aware. They will understand what you're doing and yet still love it. That's what I love about the referral mastery system is people want you to do it to them. Like, how many people don't want you to ask them about their goals? Not very many. Like, we want to be asked that question. So, love that. All right. So you did the event in September. You had 25 people you invited. How many attended? Did you get any results from that?
So 19 attended
Yep.
of the 25. And the results, absolutely. So the great thing about doing the money mastery class was that I was able to track all my numbers. So I have all of my numbers,
Yeah.
and the numbers showed that the month following the event was my best month of 2025. I
Wow.
was averaging what I expected, about 5 to 10 transactions a month. I did over 30 transactions in the month of October.
Yeah. That's
I was,
fantastic.
yeah, I mean, that was true. That was true learning how to truly implement time mastery was during that time period, because every week I had at least anywhere from 5 to 10 jobs, and I had to figure out how to fit that in, fit my networking in, fit in all of these other things that I was doing, as well as learn and grow. So
Mm. Packed. So I happen to also know that you did a top yap in December. Did you do an all yap between September and December?
unfortunately, I wanted to do the pie event, but unfortunately, what happened was couldn't find a venue. There was a whole bunch of
You
things.
were super busy in October too.
I could make
You're
all sorts of
setting
excuses.
records for sales. You should probably do it.
Thank you.
So you did another top yap in December. Was that
I
a
actually
different 25 or?
no, I did a VIP mastermind. So I took the goal was only to have 10 people, but when I looked at what I had, I looked at I had all these people who had given me one referral. Then I had a group of people who had given me more than one referral. I needed to put those people in the room and try to figure out how I brought as much value as possible to those people. Didn't know how I was going to do it. I just knew it needed to be a VIP event based upon conversations and some of my thoughts I had. And it needed to be very, um, what's it called? It needed to be very intentional. It needed to be very focused, and it needed to be very intensive.
Hmm.
And so for me, it was very, very meaningful and purposeful. And the impact seemed to go beyond what was expected, for sure.
How many did you have?
Nine out of the 12 showed up.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your biggest aha from that event?
The biggest aha I probably had was maybe taking some time to better understand, when you're pouring into people, what level they're at, so that the information and the value you're bringing to them is something that is at the level they're at. because I think that what I did was not necessarily above. I think what it was is it was different than most. I actually talked to one of the people after the event, and him and I sat there and talked for a little bit, and he gave me some feedback. And I actually asked him questions because I was genuinely curious, like, what did you get out of this? How did you perceive this? Because when I told people that I built 2025 100% off of referrals, no ads, no marketing, no advertising, no social media, nothing, strictly word of mouth referrals. And I did it through love, generosity, and appreciation. And then on top of that, I did 6 times my projected revenue. And it was because of people like them in that room. And he explained to me that there was a few people who were like just blown away by the fact that you could do a business like that. And there were other people who were trying to absorb the knowledge of it all, meaning trying to understand it. Because a lot of people, he said there's the informational and the educational. And he said that that particular event was probably more informational for people. And since a lot of people don't necessarily conceptually understand or agree that you can build a business 100% off of referrals, the education part wasn't necessarily absorbed at that time, which is good to know because then that's opportunity is what that is, meaning that
for sure
that could be done again and it'd be education.
Sounds like 9 1-to-1s.
Sir?
It sounds like 9 1-to-1s as the follow-up, maybe.
I did that, but nobody took me up on the offer that I gave them. My offer was to sit with them and do their numbers with them. And I had nobody engage me on it.
Yeah. So nobody wants to go over numbers. They don't, you know. I mean, that's a personal thing for a lot of people. It'd be like, your financial, the financial advisors have trouble getting 1-to-1s to look over people's financials because they're embarrassed about their financials, but they're the first people that should meet people or meet financial advisors about their finances, so that they can quit wondering where it went and start telling it where to go with their money. So it is what it is, right? So, all right. And then you just jumped into, so you just did a VIP event, and then you hear Maher is like hyper focused with his event mastery, and he's going to do event mastery VIP edition, and yet you still jumped in January and February. So tell me about that.
Which part? The class?
Yeah,
like
your event. Yeah, your event and what you did, how'd it go?
Phenomenal, because the thing I was looking forward to is that when I heard VIP, I was like, man, I wish I had this before I did my first top yap so that I could have tailored it better. But it's okay because, again, it's part of the learning process, right? So we do these things to build ourselves to a point where we're able to receive whatever the next level is. And that's one of the things I appreciate when I hear Jesse Gomez talk, because he says, look, I've been in the system for a certain amount of time. And every time I come to these classes, I learn something. And I appreciate hearing that, because then for me, I know that if I need to do or want to do some CEs and learn, I could just pop on one of the classes and go, hey, what's something that's a deficiency, or what's something where I think I could, do a 1-degree tweak. And so pull up one of the classes and listen. So on this one, when it was VIP focused, I was like, yeah, I mean, how do we treat the best of the best? Like, how do we take and wow the best of the best? Yeah. And so it really intrigued me. And so, I wanted to jump all in and go, how do I take what I've already done and just take it to the next level? Like, just blow people completely out of the water with the appreciation and the love to a point where it's just like, wow, like, wow, that's the wow factor, you call it.
Wow's my favorite thing to hear. It's that's what I love about this whole system. Is what happens is the number one reaction you're going to get is wow. You're going to get wows from the events. If you do the great retrace and you retrace how 4 people ago was the reason that you have this current client, that 4th person back literally cannot help themselves. But when you say, hey, listen, the reason that I have this business with Cindy today is because you sent me Tommy, and Tommy was sent to me by Lisa, and you sent me Lisa. So the first reason for my call is to just express my appreciation. They say, wow, every time. That's what I love about this system, is that the most common reaction we get is wow, not F you, click. beep, right? Or I'm going to sue your butt and turn you into do not call.gov or my attorney's on the next line. It's none of that. It's wow. It's wow. Or
It's
that's
surreal
impressive.
is what it is. It's surreal. It really is surreal. I'll have to say it right now is very surreal, especially after doing a VIP event like this of this magnitude and scale. It's literally surreal. I've had so many people reach out to me because my event was on Wednesday. I had a certain percentage of people reach out to me Wednesday night after the event. I had people reach out to me all day yesterday. I've had people reach out and even call me today. People are doing follow up with me, and I'm like, I'm waiting for you on what's next. I'm excited for Tuesday.
That's awesome. And that's how it should be, right? And what if I told you it's better to wait to follow up back with them anyway? Like, what if I told you it's better, right? It's better because they're going to have to wait a little bit. And what does the waiting do? The waiting leads to more desire. The waiting leads to more value. So it's all good. Now you don't want to ghost them forever, right? But next week's a good time to get back with everybody. It just is. And you got stuff to do. You got follow up to do. And usually it's that big bump of referrals that we need to really focus on first. It's the incoming referrals and the outgoing to the sponsors, and that does take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. In some cases, it can take weeks. But so how did you do with regard to that? With your how many people did you have? And talk to me about numbers.
Okay. So I went for the gold standard. I went beyond what you said to do. I invited 117 people.
Okay.
I ended up with a little over 80. Unfortunately, I don't remember the specific number, but it's a little over 80 RSVPs because I had a couple of people that you said, hey, contact some of your people and let them do a +1. So I got a couple of +1s in there. So I ended up with a little over 80 RSVPs. And then the actual event, we were somewhere between 40 and 50 people to be exact. A lot of people, this part right here is probably one of the more surreal parts. I had a lot of people call me the day of because they were sick. They called me. They didn't text me. They called me, left me a message with their hoarse voice or whatever was going on. And I'm like, to me, I'm trying to process. I'm like, what does that mean? Because, the way we did this VIP I know you understand calling that many people. That's a lot of work on top of running the business as well.
Yeah.
So, to call that many people, but for them to reach out to you, not in a text message, for a phone call and a voicemail. And then part of the voicemail is like, I'm so sorry I had to do this. And you can hear it. I'm sick and everything. And I was like, that's crazy. And then it's like, hey, man, by the way, please follow up with me. Please don't leave me. Don't forget me on the next event. And I'm just like, that's that law of attraction that you've spoken of, like starting to see that occur and it rippling outwards. That's the part. One thing to see it, but then as it starts to ripple outwards, especially on some of these people who are newer to the community, it's just really neat to see that. And it's very surreal,
What type of event did you do?
I did a wind down Wednesday.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
So 40, 50 people ended up showing up and did a wine tasting, did wine essentially. And then where did you do it at?
So we actually did a happy hour, not actual wine tasting. I just used it as because it was the one that you guys recommended with that. But wine was an option. So I did wine and beer, spirits, that type of thing. We did it at a place called Black Hammock. And where it's located, it actually sits on a cove on one of the lakes in Florida. Okay. And so looking out, it's picturesque, very picturesque. So that was one of the biggest compliments I got when people were coming over when I was doing the golden ticket. Hey, look, some people in the area were familiar with it and hadn't been there in years. Other people have never even heard of it before. And to elaborate beyond that, my joke with them was like, oh yeah, I designed this myself. I designed it. I built it. I was like, just kidding though. Just kidding. Seriously. But here's the cool thing about it. One of my sponsor partners, she contacted me and said, hey, Will, do you mind if I bring somebody? And I'm like, by all means. I mean, look, you're one of my partners in the event. Yeah, you absolutely are welcome to bring somebody. Well, hey, let me tell you, he's with a local magazine, and he's just interested in meeting people in the area. So I had a conversation with him, asked him about what he had going on and everything. And I said, hey, she said that you're looking to do pieces on the local area. And he goes, I would love to do one on this venue. I said, let me get the GM. Let me go get the guy who's running the show. When I brought that guy over and said, hey, man, I want to introduce you. This is a local magazine writer, and he wants to write a story on your place to help you get the word out. That guy, like, the look on his face was like, really? And I'm like, yeah, man, he wants to talk with you. So, yeah.
That's how you get venues for life. That's how you get, I mean, you're going to have access to that venue pretty much when you want it, anytime you want it. And it's a win-win-win. I mean, that's the connections that you really want to happen at these events. So you talked about a sponsor. So you had sponsors for this event?
I did. Can I sidestep real quick on how I got the venue?
Yeah.
I used the triangle of trust to get the venue.
Tell me about that.
I reached out to my top people and I said, hey, does anybody know anybody who either works or runs one of the local venues and would be willing and has the space to accommodate up to 100 people? And I had a couple of people reach out to me. And the one person who reached out to me, who it ended up working out, I'm going to do an introduction, but come have lunch with me. Let's do a one-to-one, and I'll introduce you to him personally. I did 2 1-to-1s right there at the same place. Got to know the guy, got to know about his background and everything. And so it was really cool because then it was like, all right, excellent. This is amazing because I got the introduction from somebody else. I didn't have to do it. And the power of that was just phenomenal. Like, that was so cool because the guy, he then looked at me and he said, I said, so what's your minimum? Because everybody's got a minimum. And he's like, for you, nothing. He goes, so-and-so brought you over. Look, if you're good with her, you're good with me. No minimum. Just tell me about your event and everything like that. And this is after I basically ran through Frog with him, and then he turned and I said, so what questions do you have for me? And then that was when he started asking me about the event.
Yeah, so, I love it. Yeah. Love it. It's amazing what happens when you execute. You execute. So, all right. So tell me about numbers. Like, do you have actual numbers to share about your implementation? Like, how has this affected your business? What, more referrals, more income, more opportunities?
Absolutely. So before the system, I was doing something similar to what I was doing before with my previous business. And I was doing about 6 to 7 networking events a week. And after learning about the system in the book, and I had a one-to-one with Tommy, and that was probably the most impactful thing that I did in that month of April. And I talked to him and I said, look, I've read the book a couple of times. I know what needs to be done, but give me a little guidance, would you please? Like, give me a little guidance on what this is to look like. Right now, I'm doing 7 networking events a week. I don't want to do this, man. Like, it's not that I don't want to do this. I want to get a better ROI. And this book talks about basically the people coming to you versus you going to them. And so we have this just insane 3-hour one-to-one, right? And so we went from 7 networking events down to, I do 1 networking group a week. That's it. And that's by choice, literally by choice. And that's it. The rest of them I'm invited to, and I turn down most of them. But I owe a lot of credit to the system for that and the implementation, because the law of attraction has gotten to a point now where people are like, hey, Will, I'd love if you could come to my event. I want to introduce you to some people that I know. Or, hey, Will, this is what happened to me at the beginning. It was the first week of February, I believe. Hey, Will, I'd love to have you at my event. You bring so much energy to the event. I'd love to have you there. I went to that event because it's one of my top people. And I went to the event. And when I left the event, she contacted me that night and said, look, Will, I just want you to know that people were just enamored with your energy. And I'm like, I didn't do anything. And she goes, what do you mean? I was like, I just asked them about them. I just stood there and asked questions of them. And she's like, yeah, but they said that like you were the most interesting person. I was like, I didn't say anything about myself. I was like,
they don't even know anything about me. That's how
yeah,
interesting I am.
exactly.
That's yeah. That's Genergy. I haven't said the word Genergy on a referrals podcast for quite some time, but that's generosity energy. There is Genergy. Like we definitely conjure Genergy up when we enter a room and we are just in that generosity, outwardly focused type of energy. And you definitely do that. You said that you're what about income? Like, is it 6X? Is it 5X? Is it 2X? Do you feel like, are your referrals more? You said you set a record in October. I'm just curious about like, obviously you love the system. Is it getting you the ROI that you want? Is it getting you the return that you want? Because we can have fun all day, but if we're not making more money, then is it is it worth it? Right?
I hate to have to do. I have to be metered with that response, but yes, I raised the basis in my company for the year. I'll just keep it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
That's a
was able
good
to
thing.
raise the basis from 0 to now. I have a basis to work off of.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good thing, right?
It's a phenomenal thing. It
All
really
right. So
is.
what's next? What's next?
Well, follow up is part of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll tell you what. I want you to know that the implementation of the power note, I fought that one. I just want you to know, Michael, I fought power notes. I did
And
November
events and
and
everything else. Like, why do we gotta fight, man? Why can't we just hand to hand, like conquer the world together, right? It's like, no.
the power notes was actually truly like, hey, if I'm doing such a great job at the one-to-one, why do I need to do a
Yeah.
power note?
Yeah.
I
Look
did
at this.
November.
Like this is literally like that's what I'm doing right after this podcast. Is
That's
I
awesome.
literally have notes to write. That's so funny.
the So I did November. The responses I got from November cemented to me why we do power notes.
Mm.
And every morning getting up and using that as part of my morning appreciation. I've been doing savers and not really realized I did savers until
Mm-hmm.
somebody finally Tommy explained it to me, and then I did a little bit more of a deep dive. I've been kind of doing that stuff. But anyways, my appreciation part of my morning is actually writing power notes. That's what I do for appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Minimum of one, because
Yeah.
there are certain days, time.
For
But a
sure.
minimum of one goes out. And the one thing is that I'll share with the power notes is that I handwrite every note before I put it in the power note itself. So on a separate piece of paper, I write it and then I transcribe it to the actual note card itself. I keep every single one of those that I've written so that I can look back and look at my journey at some point and go, I started here
Mm.
and look at this. Like you came from here not really wanting to know or do or why is this important to now what would you do without this? Like, what would you do without this piece of thank you? And it's so impactful. I can't begin to tell you. The one I wrote to my mentor when he called me, that was one of those moments
Mm-hmm.
like you're just like, wow, to have a mentor call you,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to have your parent call you, to have your mother call you, that was a pretty strong one.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one I wrote for the last one-to-one I did before my event was for the sponsor partner that ended up being the photographer.
Mm.
She contacted me at like 9 o'clock at night. Will, that was the most classy thing that anybody's ever done for me. That's leading into an event. Leading into an event. That is the most classy thing anyone's ever done for me.
Mm.
That was wow. That
Yeah.
is, you get a wow from me on that one. Like that was wow. Somebody called it classy.
Yeah.
And you realize that people don't do that. People just don't do that.
They don't
We
do it
do.
enough. That's for sure. And
Absolutely.
it's still a while. Handwritten note, still a while. In some cases, a phone call is still a while. Text message, still a while. Events, definitely a while. A lot of this is a wow, and it's all the influential zone. It's just really what it is. But people are doing less of it because the electronic communication has risen so much. And my response, people are like, well, when are you going to write like the 7 levels of, electronic communication? And it's like never, like where the buck is made is that offline stuff. It is the text. It is the phone call. It is the one-to-one. It is the events. It's really done at the highest, most personal level. So, all right, what has been the most surprising outcome from all of your implementation? You've used the word surreal several times. And like, what is the most surreal, or what is that most surprising outcome that you've discovered from just being an implementation machine?
Thank you. I mean, just to sit back and see what's been done in 6 to 9 months of implementing the system, and to see the impact that's already been made. The impact, the good thing about B&I, just from the particulars of being in a group like that where they have the data recorded, when you are responsible for over the half of thank you for closed business in your group in a 6-month period of time, and you're one of the newest members to the chapter, it gets a lot of people's attention.
Definitely.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
And then they take a meeting with you without asking questions. Nobody questions having a meeting at all, And so it's my renewal came up, and sitting with the board, because I got voluntold for being on the board as education and mentor.
Voluntold.
Yeah. So I got voluntold. I'm honored. I want you to know, I'm very honored. It's not from a position of arrogance. It's from seriously a position of like, thank you. It's a position of appreciation that people would revere you in such a manner that you're one of the newest people to the group, but yet we already see you as one of the best people, or what however they look at it. And to sit in those leadership meetings, and when I did my renewal, Will, you're coming back for another year, right? Like we can't do it without you, man. Like we gotta have you. What would it take? And I'm just like, you know what my answer is, man? That all it takes is referrals. That's what it takes, referrals.
That's the answer.
It's really simple.
Well, what advice would you give someone about implementing some of the strategies of the Referral Mastery System? Like, what advice would you give?
So there's a couple of things for that. First would be do it now. Secondly would be pick something to start with, anything. Just pick one thing. Do it now. Mm-hmm. That comes a little bit from whenever I went to the Brew Crew and Tommy asking the group, name one thing that you've implemented from this that doesn't work. Raise your hands. I'll wait. Mm-hmm. Nobody raises their hands. My favorite one that I learned, though, was when I took my first class, and that was the offline time mastery. And I'll never forget how the class opened. It's Coach Carla and Coach Neil. Yep. Don't question whether or not it'll work. And when I heard this on the first recording of the time mastery, I was just hooked. It was like, don't question it, just do it, especially for the D's out there. And I was like, okay, all right. Yep. I got it. We're just going to implement. We're just going to do it.
Trust the system. Trust yourself. Keep moving forward.
Yes, sir.
That's the theme of the day. That's the theme of the month. That might be the theme of the year for the year of the sphere. And man, you have delivered so much value on this. This is going to be one that people literally listen to over and over and over and over again. And this has been phenomenal. And Will, like it's probably a long time coming to get you on to this podcast, but well worth the wait. And I just so appreciate that you took us up on the invitation and delivered here today. So thank you so much for being our guest here on Referrals Podcast.
Thank you. And I was actually very humbled by the invite. I just want you to know, I was very humbled that I was even that. I was just doing what I needed to do to be successful for my community, my family, and my network, And so, yeah, implement. That's all I can tell people. Implement. If you're not implementing, implement. It'll change your life. I promise.
Well, we have Event Mastery coming up next month. What would you tell people about Event Mastery?
Get in it. I'll be there.
and that's all you need to know right there. So, ladies and gentlemen, Event Mastery class starts on March 10th this year. Yes, that is perfectly calibrated for you to do your event at the end of April as scheduled. Also, I've got to give Alina Podorf, a travel agent out of Ohio, a huge kudos. Once again, a travel agent, not a real estate agent, not a lender, not a financial planner or attorney, a travel agent, did her first event, handed out 34 referrals to her sponsor partners, but a travel agent received 16 personal referrals for her business by doing her very first event. So, Alina, kudos to you and appreciate you. And speaking of that, you're the listener, you're the viewer. It would not be possible to do this podcast without you. We love you, we appreciate you, and we will see you on the next episode of Referrals Podcast.